Hello everyone. So good to see some early birds trickling in through the door. Always good to see that commitment level. And just while we're settling in, seeing who else is going to join us today, as always, I'd love to welcome our fabulous Wize support crew. So we have Selena, who I'm sure you all know by now. She is our support angel. If there's anything that you need from today's call or anything that you need after, please reach out to her. And we have Paulina from our Wize talent team here to help you with your hiring needs. Some of you may have met her already. And Raul, our Wize Hub coach. So great to have the team here. How is everyone? You guys were saying it's quite hot. It's certainly not hot here in Tasmania, I must say.
Very hot.
Yeah, it's certainly getting fresh here, and we had quite the storm come through last night. And I was grateful that my dogs didn't really care about the thunder and lightning, which was good. Okay, so it looks like we're going to kick off with an intimate little group today. So to honour those of you who are on time, I want to kick off into this important topic. If we finish a bit early, so be it. If we are able to really deliver high value to a small number of you in one room, then let's also do that. So just as always, our housekeeping reminder, cameras on where possible. Where not possible, hopefully you can join us with your friendly face at some point. It's much easier, particularly in these small intimate rooms, to see you all. You, of course, have me today hosting your Tuesday coaching call, and we also have Raul, our Wize Hub coach, here for any Wize Hub questions when we open up into our sort of breakout room style. And is Paulina standing in for Danny today with questions, or Danny will be along?
Danny won't be able to make it, so we have Paulina.
Great. Okay, cool. So hot seat for Paulina today if there's any Wize talent related questions. Then if you can also keep yourself muted during general conversation, but when you're asked something, because we're small, I would say just come off mute rather than typing it in the chat, just so that we can be as interactive and engaging as possible. But if you have any questions that you want to drop in the chat as a prompt for when we come to you, then please feel free to do so. So we're here to learn about building a stronger team connection in 30 minutes a week. What does that mean? So this is really focusing on the importance of one-on-one meetings with team members. So I'd love to see either from a raise of hands or a drop in the chat who currently is conducting one-on-one meetings with their team members. Great, Liz. No other hands. Justin, I'm not sure if you're hand up or not. Sean, Aaron, Mina, not conducting one-on-ones as yet with team members. I'd love to hear from you as to, let me just check the chat. Oh, yes, you are. Yep, once a year, Mina. Okay. All right. Liz, have you implemented the recommended frequency of one-on-ones, or is it more sort of quarterly to every 6 months in your team?
At the moment, it's weekly for the senior client manager and assistant client manager. And then I've got monthly one-on-ones for the overseas staff. I've got 6 monthly performance reviews as well, which we aim to get done for everybody. Some of them, the part-timers, that may be just the once a year though.
Yeah, great. And how have you found the approach to the one-on-ones? We were a bit hesitant at the beginning to know what to talk about, or did it feel comfortable?
No, look, it's all comfortable. It's really effective because the main sort of structure is looking at what were the wins for the week, what were the goals for the next week. Let's have a look at the induction plan. So we've got an induction plan for the new team members and a transition plan for the senior client manager. And it's having a look at the timesheets, it's having a look at the productivity, just going through any outcomes from the previous board meeting, and what do we need to do. So there's a lot that we try and get through in that 30 minutes.
Sorry, I have a question. Is this the question, like how often do you have a one-on-one, like not team meeting, but a one-on-one with your individual team members, right?
Correct, Sean, yes. Yeah, so I can see from the chat that...
But I mean, my question, I have like 20 people, so I could never get my job done. So I heard the lady speak there. I'm in my car, but it sounds right that she's meeting with the senior people once a week, right? So that they have to do, there's the touch points with them, and then the senior people have to roll it down to their team members once a week.
Yes, absolutely, Sean. We don't expect firm owners with growing teams to conduct every one-on-one for every person every week, because that is exhausting. But it's about meeting with direct reports. So as firm owner, meeting with your senior team members, and then those senior team members meeting with their direct reports. So if that's your production manager or senior client manager, meeting one-on-one with their direct reports weekly.
So you're saying it's a linear, it's a one-on-one all the way to the bottom of the chain, like low down, they have a team of 5 or 10. You can't have a meeting of 10. It's one-on-one, like it's all the way down the chain, right?
Yeah, so this leads into our ideal team conversation as well, where we recommend 5 to 7 people in the ideal team overseeing $1 million in fees. So this is part of the challenge when you have more than that in one team, that it does create a lot of additional one-on-ones that need to happen. But it's looking at how you can create that structure so that you have the direct reports, you understand clearly who is overseen by which team member, and then those senior team members are overseen by the firm owner to support them, because our one-on-ones are critical to retention and getting to understand what makes each individual tick, because we're all different. Can't have one group meeting and think that it will meet everyone's needs when it comes to those soft skills. So one of the things that we've recently put into the Wize Vault is some great resources in supporting you in how to conduct a one-on-one. We've got some great questions. Now, just to be clear, these questions aren't to be covered in one meeting. They are just guide questions, and you can work your way through them throughout your meeting rhythm. So this might take a few months to get through all of these things, but these are here as a guide for you and your senior team members who are conducting one-on-ones in how to really foster those strong connections with your team members. So I'll just check that is sharing on the screen. So, it goes through different areas of how to gauge engagement level and how to ask questions on a personal note.
Christy, are you going to share this in, is this accessible in the Wize Hub, or how do we get hold of this document?
Yeah, this is in the Wize Vault, and Selena will post the links for you, and it'll also come out in an email following the call, and we'll have a slide up shortly with the different sections that these links are in.
And Christy, what's the preferred time limit? 30 minutes, right? Or really an hour, between an hour and 30 minutes?
It depends on the frequency. If you're having them weekly, 30 minutes should be sufficient. But if you're doing them every fortnight to once a month, then you'd want to look at, allowing up to an hour. There's nothing worse than being rushed with a team member, but preferably half an hour, so that, again, it's non-billable time. We don't want to have, all of our team out for an hour every week, but looking at what you can gain from this. And the more you do it, the more comfortable your team member will come.
But if it is a contractor model, then it is billable time for the contractor, right?
Yes, it is. Well, it's charged time that you would be charged, but it wouldn't be to a client for a contractor.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we say billable, that's referring to client work with billing out their time. So Liz, I'd love to hear from you again. Have you used this resource to help you build out your one-on-ones, or it's more based on the conversation flow you've had previously?
Yes, look, I've read the book, and I've read that that SOP, I've also given the senior client manager that book to read as well, plus Audible. So we've read it, we've listened to it, we've got the SOP. So we're picking out parts of that that are relevant, but it's more on our normal sort of structure now, where how that we use that problem solving structure to approach it. So that's how we approach it.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, you can see from this document that it really dives in deep, because so often we can have team members leave or have a personal problem that they don't share, and you are at risk of losing them or at risk of poor performance. But if they have a relationship where they can communicate with their manager, then you have the ability to support them and hopefully retain them. There's nothing worse than a surprise resignation because there was something going on in the background for a team member. Also, not to allow poor performance because there's personal things going on. But sometimes we need to coach our team members through how to separate outside world to inside world. If you think about the amount of time a full-timer spends at work, it's often more time with your colleagues than it is with your family, because that 8-hour break in family time isn't always, spread with everyone. So it's really an intimate space that you want to be able to create connection and rapport. Has anyone here had a surprise resignation that they've found out afterwards that there were things going on in the team member's personal life that you didn't know about and maybe could have retained them? No, that's good. Certainly seen it with firms that I mentor in Wize Growth that have had that issue come up. Just reading your question here, Mina, if you wanted to come off mute and ask that one, you're welcome to.
Hey, Christy, how you going?
I mean,
So it's sort of a similar question, I think, to Sean, when you've got a bigger team. So I'm the client manager in my team, but there's a whole second team. So do you let them do it and just be comfortable that that's the way it is? Or do you pop in and show face, or what do you do?
Yeah, to an extent, it's at your discretion. If we look at Jamie's role at Sky, HR is his portfolio as CEO. But he doesn't conduct every single one-on-one because he can't with 50 or 60 staff. But in the early days, he was conducting them. And it is important that your team have the stickability to the firm owner, because you should be the constant, not a client manager necessarily. I mean, fingers crossed, our SEMs don't ever go, but, life's and they can go. So you want to make sure that your team members have a relationship and respect with the CEO, that it's not scary to talk to them about problems, because sometimes they might have an issue with their senior client manager that they can't really talk about with them. So you still want to have some sort of light touch with them, whether that's through a quarterly check-in that you pop in. But yes, as you're growing out your business into the second team, there's only so much time in a day. So I understand that senior client manager would perform those one-on-ones with their team members in their production team. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll just cover off a little bit more on this before we open up to all questions, not just related to this topic, but anything else Wize related that we can assist you with. But when we look at the frequency, as I said before, ideally weekly, but fortnightly to monthly is okay, particularly, again, depending on the time that you have. It depends on how withdrawn you are from the day to day. When you look at setting your internal meetings, we encourage you to pick one day a week, so that as you progress along your freedom pathway, you have your one clear day a week. If Jamie was here, he'd show you his calendar, and his Sky day is Thursdays. On a Thursday, his calendar is full of his internal meetings with his team members. For me, it's Tuesdays. So after this call today, I've got my monthly team meeting, and then I've got a series of one-on-ones and a performance review with my team. So I know that on a Tuesday, that's my internal meeting day. This may not seem as important as you're early into your journey, but you will find at some point that you've got little bits of everything happening everywhere and it becomes a bit chaotic, or people don't respect your calendar as much, they just move things around wherever. The sooner you can own your calendar and the responsibility of it, the better, and choose that one day a week where you will have your internal meetings. And you may need to start off 2 days a week. Maybe you've got other things in place, but starting to have your CEO hat on and really focusing on when you can have those meetings, and encourage you to do the same with your senior team members so that their one-on-ones happen on the same day each week. Liz,
Okay,
have
what
you
about the team member? You're speaking about one-on-ones. Well, how often should the team meetings happen and all hands, like all teams? What's the best recommendation there?
So we have a few different meetings that we encourage. So there's the weekly managers meeting with the senior client managers and firm owner, if the firm owner is not a senior client manager, and that's where they look at higher level things, which we have an agenda on that we can make sure you've got access to as well, Sean. As far as an all-in team meeting, you may have an office-wide if you have multiple locations, or a team-wide meeting. You might do that once a month. Just depends on how your office runs. For us, we're a team of 9, including admin, so it works for us to meet once a month. But
That makes sense. That structure makes sense. All hands once a month. Now, hours, how long is that? Like 1 hour, and then the senior team meeting weekly, is that an hour, half an hour? What's the time commitment recommendation?
Depends how good you are at sticking to an agenda, really. So, in general terms, about half an hour.
Well, it depends on how much you hate meetings and how quickly you want to get through things to be efficient and respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple factors that go into how meetings are conducted and held. You want to make sure that it is respectful use of everyone's time. So, important to ensure that there's a clear agenda. And for managers meetings, we have an agenda sample for you in your Wize Hub and in our Wize Vault. And we encourage you to use the meeting section in your Wize Hub for those internal meetings. And for your monthly meeting, you may have a set agenda for that as well, of looking at the high touch points. If you're looking at schedule of the team or new business, whatever it may be that regularly comes up as a talking point, maybe something that you collaborate with your senior team members on, of what are the main things they'd like to be informing each other of. I know for us, we recognise a superstar of the month. So as part of our recognition process that we're building out. Selena, thanks, Sean, or thanks, Selena, for getting that. Yes, so in our monthly meeting, we recognise our superstar, because recognition in our team NPS was one of those little factors that sometimes wobbled. And I felt like we were a pretty loving team and really shouted out about everyone throughout the week, but it dropped off now and then. So we've implemented a monthly superstar where the team members vote anonymously on who they feel has gone above and beyond in the last month. And then that person is celebrated in our monthly meeting. They get a special background to use in Zoom for the rest of the month, and they get a gift voucher. So yeah, that's a nice little way of
But could you repeat that, Christy? You said a team member of the month or of the week?
Yeah, so for us, we do a monthly superstar award. So that's voted on anonymously by our team members, and it has to be based above and beyond their role. You can't just win it because you do your job well. That's a minimum expectation. But for someone who's exceeded their standard requirement, if they've supported team members with their overflow of work, or they've above and beyond response to a client, or
what happens if you have 3 teams? Then there has to be 3 awards, right? The best one from each team.
Yes, I would think that that's fair and reasonable than doing a firm-wide individual when you've got multiple teams to look at how you can do that per team. And that's where you may do a monthly all-in team meeting as opposed to a firm-wide meeting, because that might get a bit long.
And then you could do a firm-wide, maybe once, a little less frequently.
Perhaps once a quarter or once every 6 months to discuss firm-wide things, yeah. Yeah, it's just as your firm evolves, looking at the rhythm that you need to have. We used to do this firm-wide meeting fortnightly, and I got quite fatigued as we grew, and it was unnecessary. And then we've implemented more of the weekly managers meeting. Our one-on-one rhythm has increased, so once a month is sufficient for us.
Okay, sorry. So you said fortnightly was too not a good use of everyone's time, right? The monthly was good for that all hands one. Yeah.
If you had a systemic issue, perhaps the performance issue that the entire team was underperforming and not meeting budget or time constraints on deadline work, then perhaps you would meet a bit more frequently, but I would look at more of a training issue with the team and ensuring that they're all on the same page for how the work is completed.
Okay.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, the additional resources that will support you with this topic and getting comfortable with your one-on-ones and ensuring that you have your meeting rhythm and routine in place. We've got section 3.5 has not only the one-on-one agenda and SOP, it also has our career audit, which we encourage firm owners to do first and then roll out across their team, so that you can really ensure that everyone's in the right seat or has a career path into the right role that best suits them. And then ensuring that you have that daily huddle. I'd love a quick show of hands who has a daily huddle in place. Mina, no daily huddle? Not to call you out, sorry, that wasn't very fair. A great question. What counts as a daily huddle? Okay, so our daily huddle, the great one to close off on. 3 questions. What are you working on? What will you complete? And what roadblocks do you have, or what hurdles? So that everyone knows where everyone's at. These meetings should go for 10 to 15 minutes and are run per team, not firm-wide if you have more than one team. So you want it to be short, sharp and concise. If there's any challenges that a team member raises in their roadblocks that isn't quick to solve, that's an offline meeting. If you've got a new team, you may like to have a buffer after your daily huddle of 30 minutes to allow for whoever needs you for questions, that you always have that space, because nothing worse than having the daily huddle and then being stuck in meetings for the rest of the day and the team can't access their client manager or the person that they go to for queries. But you want to have that every day at the same time, all hands on deck in that team. So it's not a, if you feel like turning up, do, it's compulsory. Also important to keep it short and sharp. So having that clear agenda, whether you use Carbon or whatever your workflow management system is to show the work that's coming up, or, you know, ensuring that your team are prepared with what they're working on. So does that align with what you're doing at the moment, Mina, or you've gone a little bit rogue?
Much less formal, Christy, at the moment.
Okay. I would say with the size that you are, I would definitely encourage you to look at the resources of the daily huddle. I know for me, when Thomas was my mentor and he first introduced it to me, I was like, seriously, that's ridiculous. How am I going to have time for that every single day? And we kind of talk about the work all the time anyway. It allowed my team and I to create structure and clarity, and those meetings are short and sharp. Monday and Friday a bit longer because we allow a little bit more social time because we're a fully remote team and relationship building is important. But Tuesday to Thursday, short, sharp, clear. If we're coming into a busy lodgement deadline period, we may do a pre-huddle with our production manager and client managers on a Monday to make sure that we're all aligned for the plan for the week. But otherwise, these meetings are really quick and simple to execute. So maybe just bring a little bit of structure into that, Mina. It might even shorten the length each day that the team are meeting and create a little bit more impact for you and your fellow client managers. Cool. Okay, so you've got the details of those links there. Again, Selena's popped some in the chat already for you, and they'll come out for you in the recording of the call. So what I'd like to do next is, because we're an intimate group, let's just stay in this one room, and Selena will stop the recording for us. Let me just show you, for those of you who may have not caught up with Jamie for a while, or you're just at that crossroads of you're part of Wize, but you're not sure if getting the most out of it, you need that additional support, you'd like to hear what our membership options are, please reach out to Selena if you'd like to book a one-on-one strategy call. And then our next one, which I think there's definitely a couple of people in the room who this is pertinent for, need to find and hire great staff. Our next Tuesday coaching call is hosted by Danny. So yeah, definitely come along to that one. Sorry, no, it's not hosted by Danny. Selena, you'll pick me up on that one. But if you need help, do reach out to Danny and the team. And then our next topic is going to be on lockup, best practices every accounting firm owner should know. A bit of a snappy headline there. So I hope to see you all again at the next one, and have a wonderful, wonderful run into deadline. I hope you all make it and make it better than you thought you would. And we'll see you soon.